Welcome to Iron Advocate Mindset. It is the Friday before Father's Day. So we thought we'd have a little impromptu discussion on fatherhood. Some of my favorite people and the people that I knock around this subject with the most are gonna join us in a minute. I'm really excited about this. It's gonna be fun. Certainly gonna be raw and honest. Hopefully it's gonna be inspiring, and we'll all pick up some stuff. So let's jump right into it. Who we got here with us, Mabs? All right, some of my favorite fellows here. From left to right, clockwise for me is Mike Cotto. How are you, Michael?
What's up, my friend?
How's everything? Happy Father's Day early, man.
Yep. Happy Father's Day to everyone.
Yeah, happy Father's Day to everyone. What's going on with dude?
Hello, everybody. Respect and love, everybody. Happy Father's Day. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, man. Herb, how you doing, brother?
I'm great. I'm great. Good to see you. Happy Father's Day, fellas. Everybody out there.
Yeah, and got Mark Goodhart joining us in a moment or two, so he'll pop in here. Just thought we'd do this impromptu, fellas. You guys have all joined me for some content we've been creating, and seemed like an opportunity. So I'm going to lead us off with, I think, the question that rolled into my head just a few minutes ago, and I shared with Mabs here, which is if you could go back in a time machine on the day your first child's birth, what would you tell yourself? So I'm going to toss that out. I can either roll with it or I can leave it for one of you fellas. I'll tell you what, fellas, I'll lead it off. How's that sound? Give you a minute to contemplate. So, yeah, when this popped in my mind, I thought to myself, didn't really have an answer, but I think my answer would be I would tell myself, you are broken, unhealed, and everything about you will gravitate toward one to have all the answers moving forward as a father, and you should slow down and heal yourself while you're fathering the next generation. So I think that's what I would tell myself. Is you have no idea how not ready for this you are.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right,
Yeah,
so
I
I'm just
think
going. I'm gonna toss it out there. Whoever wants to jump in, that's. I'm gonna leave that sit out there for a minute. I mean, I'm still broken, right? We all are.
Yeah,
I think I'm healing up pretty good here, but still broken for sure.
I'd
So yeah, I'll
agree.
toss it out for you fellas.
Yeah, I'd agree, and I just piggyback on that, and I'm sure that everything that everyone says. I'm sure I would incorporate that into saying in essence what you just said, and that is that I don't know, and that's okay. It's okay not to know, and so that's not baggage for me.
What what
I
don't what didn't you know?
Everything. I didn't know. I didn't know. Um, it's like I tell my kids, the easy thing is okay. I don't know how to, you know, everything from properly hold care, so forth and so on for this very fragile new life that I'm responsible for. Right. Um, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. Not know. Now there are some rules that were laid down in the care that was given to me in my life that I'll attempt to mimic, but I don't know anything, and that's the beautiful thing about it. And here we're going to discover ourselves and growth together. And so I would have liked to told my young self that let your life be a confessional to your children of just we're growing together. We're growing together. And then let all of my decisions about Little League and all that come from that soil. And
Man,
then the only daddy issue that is ever in the room is usually the daddy.
don't. Yeah, man.
Right,
That is good advice, right?
right,
If we could all learn from our collective my mistakes together,
right,
right? Instead of constantly trying to muscle through and think we got the
right,
answers, right? So, and that just delays the healing, right? That I was talking about. So it is
that's
all
right.
connected, right? It um, just delays the healing. So
Right.
yeah. So Michael, how about you? What do you think? So welcome, Mark Goodhart. We're pondering on if we could go back to the day of the birth of our first child, what we would tell ourselves. And I led off by saying I'd tell myself how broken I was and unhealed, and that I should slow down and take care of myself before I tried to muscle through with all the answers. And Wadud was just saying, yeah, if we parented from a place of it being just a confessional of honesty with us and our children, instead of preaching, right? Wadud, that's really what you're saying. Stop preaching,
Just
get
a
the
different
confessional.
sermon. It's a different sermon.
That's it. different sermon. All right, Michael, what do you got for us?
Yeah, picking up where Dude left off. Yeah, I definitely agree with all that. I would just add that maybe I think maybe you're better off not knowing some things, and you're kind of building a plane as you're flying it, and and that's a beautiful thing because it's those things that you learn along the way that make it worthwhile. So the only thing I would tell myself is, I mean, just enjoy every minute because you can't get it back. You started it off by saying about building a time machine. Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, that hasn't been invented yet. So it forces us to appreciate every moment going forward. Uh, and when I look back on those times and how precious they were, it just informs me of how to proceed today. So as of today, I treat those moments as if they were the first moments, like I'm never going to get them back again because you're not.
So true. I so much more present now, as a result of that. So true. So well said. Herbert, welcome, my friend.
Hey, so I think there's probably two main things that come to mind for me. One is remember your own advice. As a teacher and a principal of middle schoolers, I have been giving parents advice and information with respect to their children for a long time. And one of the biggest things I would always tell them is, listen, your children are crazy at this age, and you keep trying to teach them, and they'll remember that stuff when they get older. You won't think so, but somewhere around 25, it'll come back, and you taught them something, and it'll be there. When my kids was in that age bracket, it was hard to remember that when they were completely insane, and seemed like nothing I said got through, and they didn't hear anything, and all the lessons I've been trying to teach them. So remembering that advice that it'll come back. You don't stop giving them the message. You don't stop trying to help them learn life lessons, and it'll come back down the road. But the other piece that is probably a big one for me is you can't make a mini me. You can't make this one become a mini me, even if you give him your name. Um, he's going to be his own person, and learn who that is and learn to enjoy that person. You cannot clone yourself and try to remove whatever you didn't like about yourself or do like about yourself. You can't clone it. He's going to be a completely different human and a completely different man, and he's going to make his own sense of the world at some point.
Good,
Well said.
good, really well said. I'm gonna circle back on that, Herb, because you and I are namesakes, and neither of our sons are, and we still try as we might, right? But I want to circle back on that, and I did have a few flashbacks to moments when you were not being heard when we were together with all of our sons. So. So some of those are seared in my mind. And I think that Mike's son is now 25. You and I apparently and Mark have not reached the point where any of these lessons are getting learned. So we're muddling through. And our other two friends here, I think, are about to well, certainly Wadud and Mike is entering into the light. So Mark, what do you got? What would you go back and tell yourself in this time machine that has not yet been made?
Well, I enjoyed what everyone shared. I think I'd probably tell myself to slow down. And I think what Mike was saying rings true and loud and clear for me is, and I actually hadn't thought about it the way he put it, is you can still treat things like first moments now. And that's a great way to think about it. And almost to forgive yourself for moving at light speed through your kids' lives. And I would just say slow down. And I'm not big on cliches. I actually sort of hate cliches, but the one that the time flies with your kids is the one true one that I do understand. And it's interesting. My oldest is 17, as you know, Bob, and getting ready to be a senior in high school. And she actually has this feeling that everyone's so excited for senior year. And she actually wants to hold on from your child, because we often think of the parents just want to hold on. So I think I would tell myself to slow down, and then hopefully that would, rub off on your kids as well to slow down, because there's plenty of time to be an adult, as we know. One thing that Herb shared-
Ironic the picture over your shoulder there, the intersection of here and now. So I love that. So continue. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Herb, last week there was this moment. I got an alert on my phone that my daughter had bought a chai latte, and it cost $6. And then I saw that she tipped $4. And it was actually this seminal parental moment for me, because I said, wow, she has been paying attention to me. She has been following, along and seeing my, lessons and how, I try and treat people. And it was like this. I was like, whoa, you don't have to tip $4 on a $6 coffee. But I sat back and I was actually.
You did, Dad.
About it. It was like that moment where they are paying attention a little bit, even though you think they're not.
Yeah. That and that, right, it's part of the dots that connect. Is the reason we go so fast through parenting is we're scared out of our minds, that our kids are going to screw up life, right? That's why we speed through. So it's natural and understandable that it's just, are they going to figure this out? Are they going to go sideways? And in, as you know, in 1, 2, 3 thoughts, you can see disaster on the horizon at all ages. And so that makes us want to speed. And so it requires real intentionality to try to slow down. And then to also embrace and understand that our mistakes, how we embody parenting, right, and how we embrace our own mistakes and questions and uncertainties is how they're going to learn to embrace theirs. So, part of slowing down is sitting with the shit that we don't have the answers to or we're scared of, and the slower we move, the more, of course, that our kids are going to get the essence of who we are. And it's really, really, really challenging, because we're scared out. I'll go back to those flashbacks, Herb, right? I can, in the moment I couldn't see it. It was just like, a couple of, best buddies trying as best they could to parent, kids who were, not listening and acting like knuckleheads at, whatever age, you want to flash back to. But what's underneath all that is fear, man, is if they don't stop acting like knuckleheads, then they'll be adult knuckleheads and terrible things will happen and I'll be a failure as a parent. And that's what prevents us from slowing down and being present, like Mike said, for all the stuff. So the namesake thing, Herb and I are both namesakes, and Herb of a very publicly well-known figure, and also siblings who are all sisters. Also an interesting wrinkle for you, Herb. But what's the so my question for all of us is, what is the what has been the most difficult unhealthy or dysfunctional cycle or pattern you picked up from your own upbringing that you've just seen or saw constantly creep into your parenting, and what do you do about breaking that and or finding opportunity in it? So as a namesake, Herbert, it's almost like doubly that way, right? So I'll kick it to you. What are the the cycles that just came with growing up and things you picked up that were toughest, and where's the opportunity in those things?
So probably the one that jumps out to me the most is um, how we display affection. My father was not super affectionate, and later in life, as I got to be late teens, he and I had a conversation where he lamented that, and he said, I wish I had shown more, and we had a very candid conversation about it. By then, stoicism was kind of hardwired to me. And so I see it with mine sometimes now. Like I'm not the super affectionate uh, hugs all the time and kisses and foreheads and let me tell you how much I love you. Um, my father now says it in every conversation. There is no time that I speak to my father that he doesn't express, "I love you and I'm proud of you." But at that time, I guess that was something that he didn't get as a child, and so he passed it to me, and it built a stoicism in me that my father jokingly used to call me old stony face at times, right? So, and I have a certain even keelness that I really like, but I also know that I am not overly or high, or I won't say overly. I'm not super affectionate when it comes to my sons. So I try to remember to express it verbally and try to force myself to show it physically. But that's one of the things that I'd say is a cycle that uh, has definitely reared its head in terms of the negative. There's a lot of positives, but just in terms of one of the negative things that I wish I had been able to kick the cycle, that's one.
That is so I mean, it's fascinating knowing you and hearing you talk about that, and seeing what you identified as some of the positive in it, and also hearing you, reflect, we'll say, on how that impacted your own parenting style. You and I have never had that conversation. Each of you, the four of you, is acknowledged in Finding Polaris, and it's so interesting now. I just grabbed the book, Herb, while you were talking, and the acknowledgement to you reads, "Thank you to Herb Daughtry for being the most steady and centering member of my tribe. Our brotherhood has made me a better person." And I'll just leave it at that, man. It's a blessing and a curse, right? Because what you
Yeah.
just described is why you are the most steadying member, right? And also you described it as stoic. So thanks for sharing that. That is fascinating, man. Known you a long time, never heard you say that. So, Wadud, what do you got?
Yeah, I think I'll pick up from that step that Brother Herb laid down. Um, Without question, the affection part, but I would take it a little heavier for me. And the first part for me, I had to resist a very violent upbringing. I had to acknowledge that. A lot of violence. So my father, not only was he detached, he was very violent, hands on, but more importantly, belts on. Okay, and there's no,
Mm.
you know, there are no rules in the game. And so, because of that intensity, the way that I processed the world came from that beginning. I had to see it and circle it, and because of the way that I, uh, I think I had to lay the conflict of that at the feet of my home, whether it's my wife, with my children, and so it literally um, took all of the excuses away. But what it did is it saw my children saw me have to struggle through what happens to a brain in its upbringing,
Mm.
and that this brain is now responsible for you guys. Let's begin this together. So I'm sunshine. So now I don't have to forgive my father because I understand him. All the daddy issues are gone. Saved him a whole lot of therapeutic bills, right? And so it was just a very different type of approach because of the intensity of my unique but not unique. And everyone goes through it, but in a Wadud sense. And so, um, yeah. And then from there, oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. And not only I love you, explaining to my children how I have to force myself because of the way that my brain at their age was influenced by my parent who didn't know how to do the things that I'm doing. Not a bad or a good, a him that helped make a me. That's it. Right. And so, yeah, that's, so now I can be kind. Now, boom. But it don't stop at with your home. How do I now become kind to everyone that I meet so I can strengthen that part of my brain that was not really used at its very developmental stage as an idea?
Thanks. Thanks for sharing that. When you talk about your pop wood dude, one of the things it's just a constant reminder for me that I wish for people to take away is that it's all about educating yourself about yourself. There's never finger pointing. There's never, oh man, wish it wasn't like that. It's always like, what can I learn from this? How can I carry it out in the world, like you said, to be an even better version of me, and grateful for who you are and where you are and how you got here. All gratitude, and I appreciate
Respect.
that. Appreciate that about you. And for me, I'll just piggyback what you were saying. For me, hardest one was that while it's really important to hold your responsibilities for others dear, that it is mandatory to care for ourselves, and by putting ourselves first and living our most extraordinary life is how we really truly embody what fatherhood should be all about. Live in a way that you want your children to move about the world. And
show
part of
your
that is it.
vulnerability,
Part of that's
to
it.
show your strength.
What's that?
Yeah. To show your vulnerability with dude was to show my strength.
That's right.
Right.
And part of that is
so
to. Yep. Go ahead. You go.
exactly. For me, there's no greater demonstration, because I was operating from a certain type of perceived deficit as a result of an experience. But I realized it wasn't. What it was just how I got to be this crazy person. And once
Right.
I embrace it, now
That's it, man.
it makes it easier. It
I
just makes it
always
easier.
I always say that our journey in life really is about continuing to develop a more and more detailed index to our owner's manual. It's not about rewiring us. It's not about changing who we are fundamentally. It's about going through life's journey to develop a more and more refined owner's manual to ourselves. And so the hardest pattern for me was to realize that the best thing I could do for my kids was to move about the world in a way that I would want them to, because the younger that they learn the lessons of developing a life that feels extraordinary to them, and that they lean toward the things that serve them best while being responsible and there for those that we love and care about. But part of that is to also acknowledge ourselves, and move about the world in a way that they're like, man, he's living life in a way that looks like that feels good, and for my dad, it was, man, you work hard, you take care of everything, and you die. That's how it goes. It's partly the generation and how he grew up, and partly his history, and probably partly his hardwiring. So Mike, what do you got there? And then Mark, and listen, you guys feel free to kick it back to me too. I'm happy to field any that you got. My own guy Mabs helped put together a few of these prompts here, so appreciate him for that. What do you got, Michael?
Just sitting here, first off, just being very moved by what dude just contributed.
For sure.
Sincerely. And one of the points that I wanted to make when you first let me know that we were going to do this was, I guess my mind went to a place. Your children, they're watching you. they see your struggles. They start to learn without you laying it out for them. You know, they may know that dad's going through something. Uh, I mean, in my case, I like to think I treat my kids with overwhelming affection. Uh, and you don't necessarily have to write your history down for them. They pick up on it. So, uh, you know, I just, one thing I do with my kids, I mean, I just want them to always feel secure and to never fear that they're going to be abandoned. And uh, they watch how you treat their mom, they watch how you treat others. And when you become a father, in addition to your own children, is the point I really wanted to make is I think you inherit an obligation to be fatherly to the other young people that you encounter in the world, your children's friends, young men and young ladies that you see on the street. They're watching you too. And one of those people may be someone who's lacking a father figure. And it may be that encounter with you, and they may even observe it from afar. It could be a friend of one of your children. You could be a father figure to young people who are not your biological children. We all look for our fathers wherever we can find them, whether it be in literature or in a bar or just encountering other people in your life. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. I think growing up has a lot to do with just weeding out the good from the bad. So that's where I pick up from what Dude said, and thanks to him for I wasn't necessarily going to go there, but I felt somewhat emboldened by what Dude's lead.
Respect. I appreciate you.
Th- Yeah, man. Thanks to that. I to your point, Mike, your kids see it. It was the end of last week. Mab said to me, maybe it was Friday. He's like, "You all right, Dad? You had a long week." And I had that recognition that you had, which is, there's no reason to hide it or try to muscle through it. They see it. Of course, the older they get and the more mature, the more with more texture they see it. But they see it, and those are just opportunities to be vulnerable and authentic. And I just was like, man, it was a long effing week. But I'm still standing and swinging. So I think there's endless opportunities to do that, and I think the younger kids are, the less comfortable that feels because of this idea that we got to be strong and have all the answers. So I would say to folks out there what Mike shared, true at every age. So of all of us on the call, Mark has the youngest kids. Kick it to you, Mark. What are the pattern cycles or anything you want to comment on here, and then we can just have a little free for all here. So really grateful and blessed for you guys all being here. What do you got, Mark?
Yeah, I think I'm listening to what everyone's saying, and even going back to your first question, I think another thing I would tell myself that I didn't necessarily realize for years is that your kids are watching. I mean, they are, but you don't know how much they are until you start to almost get the feedback from them when they become confident enough to, sort of call you out. And one thing I certainly inherited from my father is reactivity, and reactivity to stuff that you realize just doesn't really matter. Whether it's the family, being 30 minutes late to get in the car to go on the road trip, or, the fact that your daughter packs, enough for a 3-day vacation that would last a lifetime. These stupid things. And quite frankly, I didn't even know how to manage that very well, Bob, until I read your book, until I started, getting guidance from you on this notion of reactivity. And, I credit you with making me, number one, aware of it, right? Because you need to be aware, even though you're aware on some level, you've made me much more aware on a level that, oh, it's actually controllable, even though it's really hard work and you got to work at it every day and every moment. And so as you know, you and I have connected over the past, I guess, decade on a deeper level, you know, that's something I work on every day, and I know exactly where it comes from. It comes from my father, because I remember him being exactly the same way. And, you know, just to tie it back to where I started, I also noticed that, man, the kids are watching and they're taking notes and they're keeping score. And just try and do better each day.
Man, so much of that shit doesn't matter. But what matters is the opportunity that you're talking about, right? It's not the thing. It's how we handle all of the things. That's I mean, to me, so you're in this great space where there are endless triggers from, you know, packing the car to the, like you said, the, you know, the $6 lattes, the you know, a month's worth of luggage to go to Ocean City for 2.5 days, you know, whatever the case might be. And you're coaching, you know, you're coaching 8-year-olds at baseball, which is the petri dish of reactivity right now. And of course, just the petri dish, right, of reactivity. And at the end of the day, there is absolutely nothing about 8-year-old baseball that matters to anybody, right? It's how you handle. Nothing will ever happen in an 8-year-old baseball game. And I didn't believe this to be true when I was coaching my kids at 8 and when they were 9 and 10 and playing in the, you know, the Little League state championship, you know, tournament. Man, it seemed like all that stuff was really important. Of course, nothing happening on the field or in the dugout or the batting cage mattered, right?
And that you can't actually control any of it.
And who would want to expend their energy trying to, but we did, right? We did. And, you know, Mabs is sitting here. I'm sure, I don't know whether he knew none of it mattered. I mean, it mattered, you know, of course to him, but it, you know, it's the dealing of it, how it mattered, you know? And of course I can look back and when Mabs and Roman and their buddies played in this, you know, in the, you know, Pennsylvania Little League championship round, the reason that they probably didn't do better is because it seemed like it mattered too much. Right. And the truth is, it, you know, at the end of the day, it really doesn't. So, but how we respond to it, you know. So thanks for the kindness, Mark. I I frame it that each of our triggers and things that happen during the day put us at the intersection of reactivity and responsiveness. So it is a lifelong journey to be as responsive as we can. And sometimes we stub our toe, and that's okay too. But it's responding to it, and I think the more we see these things as opportunities, the more we grow, and it's endless. It's endless.
One of the
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just saying, one of the interesting things as I've sort of delved into this journey of exploring my own reactivity and all of that is I actually handle the quote unquote important things. Health. I mean, that's really the number one thing. Health, life, death. With much more ease and calmness and thought and measure than I do the stupid stuff. And while that is frustrating, it's also, I guess, interesting.
Yeah. I mean, but they see it, right? I still hear from my guys, oh man, remember that time? They'll say dad, or now they'll say like Bob lost his shit over that, their favorite is the lid that came off the drink at the Sonic drive-through and fell all over my lap on the inside of the car. I'm still hearing about my reactivity to that, 10, 12, 15 years later. And so to your point, Mike, they watch and remember, right? And so I hope that they can learn from that like, how did I find my way that day to a place where the loosely fit lid on the drink at the Sonic seemed like it was important enough to react to in the way I did, right? And so I just hope they pick up that that is never, ever a thing that matters, right? But in the moment, it seems like it. So, yeah. Still, every time we pass a Sonic, I got one of my guys in the car. I'm still hearing about it.
Let's not forget that you almost like threatened the cooks.
All right.
Because the wings were running 30 minutes later, so. And I was like, the wings aren't going to come any faster if you keep pressing that button.
He's pressing around the back. Well, you know, he hadn't done yoga. He hadn't done yoga yet.
Dude, it was a different guy, man.
I don't even think he heard about meditations and yoga yet.
I hadn't scheduled the lobotomy either, with dude. None of that stuff had happened yet.
Crazy.
Oh man. So yeah. So Mabs and I. We revisit this stuff all the time, man. And it's right at the end of the day, what's it about? Hopefully, like, you know, they pick up stuff. You know, like that is the ultimate point from like all of this. Is they're always, you know, your kids are always watching. They still are. I tossed a 7-iron a week or two ago, didn't I, Mabs?
Sometimes that 7-iron's got to go.
It was actually the 7 and then probably a pitch and wedge too. There's 2 occasions.
It's work. It's a work in progress. It's always a work in progress. So where's the work for you fellas now? I mean, mine's in the same freaking place it's always been, I guess. Is slowing down and living responsibly. You know, you all know, and anybody who's seen our stuff before knows that blessed enough to have Mabs working full time, running video production here, and let me just give a shout out, man. Completely responsible for all of this, which is I'm just going to own it and say it's impressive, and he's got our brand looking sharp. Incredible opportunity to work with him every day, and you know, we find our moments of challenge that we turn into opportunity. Blessed to find myself here. Motivates me to be a little better. Try to be a little bit better each day. What's on your guys' plate? What's challenging you? What's challenging you now?
I think for me, the challenge now is
Go for it,
boys are
Herb.
20 and 18. So yeah, my boys are 20 and 18, and the challenge now is probably trying to find that balance of advice, guidance, listening, as they are truly growing into their own, to be their own men, and just trying to figure out, you know, where to let them make the mistakes, where to try to head off some mistakes, and just trying to figure that balance out of leading and listening. And I think that's the big challenge is how much to let go, how much to try to hold on, how much to try to push, how much to try to guide, when to give advice and when to just listen. You know, that same struggle I have with my wife all the time. But so that's probably what the big challenge is right now with the boys.
So I'm going to jump in for a second. I'm going to get that question answered for you, Herb, because Mab's sitting across from me, and your boys are 18 and 20. He'll be 22 in July. Mabs, what's Herb got to do here? What amount of advice, what amount of guidance, what amount of keeping his mouth shut does he need to utilize here, and all the rest of us? Can you just give him the as my dear friend Coach Kidd says, give him the answers to the quiz. All right, can you do that?
I would just say just sit back and relax and cruise on the boat, and it'll be a smooth road or smooth ship. Yeah.
Well, what does he do when his kids make? Not that you ever make a knucklehead decision, Mabs, but when he's witnessing in real time, a knucklehead decision, tell him what to do.
I would Same thing, because I everyone overthinks situations, and it creates a kind of a chaotic mindset, and it doesn't help the person that you're trying to help. So if you can slow yourself down, it allows you to help the person that's in need, and I think it's just slow and steady is always better than quick and reacting, and that's something that I'm always working on. Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah.
Some point later, I'll ask him to grade me. I already failed the whatever year the Sonic test was, but we'll see how we're doing now. Well, dude, you were about to you were about to jump in there.
I'll piggyback on Herb and Mavs. I think that I've always set myself up with my children as I am but one, hopefully, of your many advisors. You're rooting for me, you love me. We have all this extreme attachment with each other by way of, just the facts of the nature of us. But I'm an advisor, and it is your life 1000% like it's mine. And part of my life is pom poms and rooting for you and crying because of the television show of you that I'm forced to witness. So, you can ask me anything. And so my only ground that I can grab, because I also tell them, I used to tell them when they're in high school, I have no power. I got some control as a result of some rental requirements with you guys living in my house in terms of what your grades have to be, but I really don't have any control over your lives. I want you to own your life and then on your own want me in it. I want you to want me in it. And I want you to trust me more and more and more and more and more. So part of what my thing is now as my daughters get older and they're dating this person, my son and his relationships or just how life is coming, I also try to explain to them my rationale. And I try to explain to them from the beginning, I have a strong bias. Okay? Factor that in. So when you hear me, try to hear me as flat as you can. So you're not also rooting for my ideas. And because of that approach, I think that they've continued to allow me to hang around hang around for a little while. We'll see what happens.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Day by day.
Yeah.
I love that of them want you to want to be there. That they want you to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this, they're like trying to get it right all the time.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be with that person. So
Yeah.
Mark and Mike, and then I'm gonna land the plane by you guys can think about one piece of advice to anybody listening out there, a digestible piece of advice. But let me get Mark and Mike on this point we're on, and then we'll go around the horn on a piece of advice, and we'll land the plane. Go ahead, Mark.
I think I just sort of want to comment on something that Wadud was saying, that you're one of many advisors, and I think that's a very, very good way to look at it. I think one of the challenges is within that is we have this desire to pick who the other advisors are, and I think that's a constant challenge. And so I think that's something that, whether it's even within your own household or outside your household. And so I hadn't necessarily thought about it that way until you said that, would do that we are one of many advisors.
Yeah.
And, they pick up advice from people they don't even know as an
That's right.
advisor. And, but we have this reaction to trying to influence who the advisors are. And there's a tension there. And, listen to me on this stuff because I know what I'm talking about here. And the way you presented it gives me a lot of thought on that, on just being one of many. Because as a father, we of course think that we have this added heavy responsibility.
Right.
And then also how we allow them to navigate who the advisors are. And of course, you can't learn what works without making mistakes. But of course, seeing your children make mistakes is one of the hardest things to stand by and be quiet around, sort of as what Mabret was advising us to do.
Yep.
So maybe more just some thoughts based on what you said, but it's very interesting. It's powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
What do you got, Michael?
Yeah, man. Talking about many advisors, they got 10,000 of them in the palm of their hand at any given moment, and it's in the title, influencer. So we can't help that. They're going to have to sort that out on their own. Hopefully, we provide a good real life alternative, and I mean a useful tool for me. My kids are 24, 22, and 19. And and they're great, but if I'm ever in a place where I could be frustrated, I think back to myself at those respective ages and my mindset and some of the things that I shudder to think that I did, and I find that I'm a lot more forgiving after that. So,
that is
that's what I got.
Aren't we all, man?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna add one last thing to this with the advisors and all that, and then I'm gonna go parting advice that you guys want to offer. I tell my boys all the time, and I deeply, deeply, deeply believe this. They have everything that they need to live this life in a meaningful and rich and full way, and it's all about the journey to trust ourselves. And to your point, Mike, deciphering who is worthy of advice on any given point. That's all part of it. It's they have what they need every day when they go out in the world, and it's all about developing a sense of trust for it. So let's go around the horn. Herb, what do you got? What do you got for folks out there? Piece of advice, a little wisdom, hard lesson learned.
So there's probably I can give a lot of advice. I'm trying to tame that advice monster, but the biggest thing I think I would say to any parent and of a child growing up, and be present. And I think we heard various elements of that in this conversation: the slow down, the experience, the moment. Being present is vital for both them and for you as the parent to be present in the moment, both physically and mentally and emotionally. And I think that's the advice I would give to any parent, is whether that is being present because while they're sitting on the floor playing with a toy, or when they're at their basketball game or their soccer game, or when they're at a recital, or when they are in a spelling bee. Whatever you can do to be present, physically, emotionally, and mentally, do that.
Mark, what do you got?
The work will always be there. And I think not only will it always be there because, if you're blessed enough to be, employed or in any capacity or have a vocation, it'll always be there. But nowadays it is always there. The urge to open the laptop, to open the phone, to cross a task off the list. It's something that I have to remind myself all the time. And in the moments that are the most crazy, I think it's when you need to take the break from the work and lean into what makes you happy. And I think for all of us, one of the things that makes us happy is our children. So in the parenting world, the work will always be there. And the moments and the opportunities from the mundane, as Herb said, playing with the toy on the floor or having the catch or, just listening and having a conversation. Those moments are more fleeting. And I tell myself all the time, the work will always be there.
That it will. Dude.
I piggyback off of both of those, and I would say that let go of the control that you believe you have, because you're wasting a lot of mental space holding on to ropes that are tied to nothing. You don't control anything, and so there's, and therein lies all of your power. So that, for me, as a parent, allows another level of honesty, another level of attachment, and they know that I come with you know, nothing to grab with, because it's them and it's theirs. And then also, I would say everybody's good enough, and everything that you've witnessed your children go through is just what human primates do, from look ridiculous to right. So that means everybody's healthy, regardless of where the consequences wind up. Everyone is healthy. So how do we correct some things? And so I think it's important how we look at something, because all those definitions are tied to every cell in my body, and that can cost me, everything from my teeth to diabetes. And so slow down is really the advice.
Ropes tied to nothing. That's a lesson, a lifetime of learning. Ropes tied to nothing. I say all the time, tell people, make a list of the things that you actually truly control in this life. It's a really short list, man. So,
That's right.
Mike, really short list, man. Really short. What do you got, Mike?
Just want to think about and reflect on Father's Day. It's painful for some people out there, especially for some children and some fatherless boys. And I think we all need to be mindful of that. And I think if we have an opportunity to reach out and be fatherly to someone, that's something we should, that's a responsibility we should take very seriously. It's nice for us to celebrate, and I will, and I am celebrating. But my thoughts my thoughts go out to some children who don't have it so good, and I know all the people here that go above and beyond, and not only with their own children, but with the young folks that they encounter out in the world, and that's where I want to leave it.
Respect.
Well said. Respect. I would just say, for me, parent and live like you're going to die tomorrow. And I don't mean that in a hair on fire, get everything done way. I mean that in when you're contemplating sharing a thought or the way that you want to move about the world. Parent and live from a place that embodies that today may be your last one, and and then that'll lead you where you need to be. So that'll lead you where you need to be. This, fellas, was like a bit impromptu and everything I could have hoped it would be, and so much more. And I'm so grateful, really grateful to have you guys as part of my brotherhood, and so grateful to have you jump on here. And we cannot thank you enough. I'm gonna put myself on the spot here and ask Mabs. Mabs, what's my work here? What do I need to be doing better?
Sorry for the quick thought, but I don't really know.
All right. You can tell me later.
Maybe, yeah, I don't really know.
I guess I wanted folks to take away. Go ahead, Mabs.
I guess right now it's maybe a little rushed, and maybe you're thinking future plans instead of being present a little bit more than you usually are. But I think other than that, you've been improving a lot on your I would say, like, your emotions as a parent, and being like even keel. But yeah, definitely, like, I would say sometimes when you're talking to someone, I see that you're not really focused on them. You're focused on the phone or something, because you might be trying to get something linked up or talking to so and so, and then but that's it. Yeah.
Thanks, man. So I think for me to take away is like ask. If you don't ask, you don't know. So, figure out a way to
Yeah,
ask
maybe
your kids.
part two of this conversation is you get to bring all of our kids on and ask them that question.
Yeah, I won't be able to make that one, Mark. Yeah, sorry, I got a scheduling conflict.
Certain good ideas are better left not done.
Yeah. Be careful what you wish
Mike,
for.
Mike, you and I have the same thing, right? I think Mike and I have the same conflict.
Yeah, I'll
I don't
see
know
you
if
there.
I don't know if Mike golfs though, Herb. I know what your conflict's going to be. I know what your conflict's going to be, but it's so funny because Mabs is right that remember I said earlier, he told you last week, he said to me, man, you all right? You had a hard week. I got a lot of plates in the air right now, and I need to do a more intentional job around presence, which is a lot of what we talked about. And it's, I want them to see all those plates. A lot of those plates, many of them feed my soul. And most of them I wouldn't trade. Like there is a lot of stuff going on in, Iron Advocate mindset and land, we'll say. And Mabs is, intimately involved in all of it. So he's got a front row seat. He's working with me. And I'm so glad I asked that question because, there's the realities of life. Like he is seeing me in moments that, they're parenting moments, but they're also business owner, entrepreneur moments. And I'm not quite sure what to do with that feedback from him other than to take it in and be grateful
Well,
that.
I'll tell you this. I'll say this to you, Bob. The first thing that you got to take in is that your son, who's not only are you working with him, has put this whole thing together, right? You ask him a question, what you need to work on. His first response is he had none, because that's how good of a job you're doing. Then when pressed on the issue, right? That's evidence in and of itself. If I was 19, 20, 21, and you asked me that question about my pop, I would have had called DHS. Right? So we got to see the work is happening right now. The example that you're setting is a beautiful thing to watch. Respect to you.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
Hence why I thought he could create a whole episode out of my children.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. No, listen. Thanks for the kindness and I appreciate Mabs. We put him on the spot. We've done it in some other conversations. He had no idea I was going to ask him that, and his answer was honest. I appreciate it. And so I'll be contemplating and doing what I do, journaling on. How do you have a workspace as a parent and entrepreneur and all that? He is darn straight right that there's 5 things going on, sometimes, and sometimes that's necessary. So we'll continue to contemplate this. We'll do a full show on Mark's kids coming in, and we're actually going to critique his parenting while they critique him. So since he thought that was a good idea, so they'll all come on. We'll be like a panel. We'll listen to their critique. And then we'll advise them on how they may actually be able to refine their critique, and then after Mark has turned into like a puddle of shame on the floor, we'll try to pick the pieces back up and offer him some advice to help him see that he's not the worst parent on the face of the earth, that there may be somebody worse than him out there. So. And that he'll be courageous for showing up. So how's that sound, Mark? You ready for that? We'll get that scheduled a week from Tuesday, Mabs. Can you get that? You get that set up?
Sounds great. I think I was actually thinking we should do it on Mother's Day. Even better.
That'll create more tension. Yeah, definitely.
Mabs, he's got 3 school-age children, so he's got plenty of built-in tension. So no question about that. So. Yes, sir. So, all right, fellas, listen, this is, each of you lives in a way that embodies and displays for your kids. There's so much inspiration on this call. Thank you, fellas, for doing this. Mabs, thanks for making us look, really, really good and, getting this set up and running the board, and, appreciate you. And I love you, man.
Oh, yeah,
you,
everything sounded good. Everyone looked good. Yeah, love you too.
See you guys.
Appreciate it.
All right, we're out.
Thanks.
Take us out of here, Mabs. Play some music or do whatever you're going to do. Take us out of here.